Discipline in ancient Greece, when the Greeks defeated everyone. A lot has been said in the past, and many studies have been written with thematics revolving around the strategies and tactics that the ancient Greeks applied on the battlefields, achieving a decisive result for the turn of Greek and European history. In ancient Greece, the Greek army generally consisted of trained men with military attire, breastplates, leggings, helmet, and with skill in the use of weapons, the javelin, sling, bow, sword. The Rhodians of Rhodes were the best slingers, the Cretans of Crete the best archers, the Acarnanians from Acarnania, and the Agrians people on Strymon from the area of Argos near Sparta the best javelin throwers, and the Thracians of northern Greece the best peltasts. The ancient Greek army was the first to use military formations in battle, as well as running with shouts to attack enemies. The naval superpower of the time was Athens. The famous tactics of the Athenians who deceived their enemy by changing the formations of their fleet are well known. In the land army, the Greek army used from the 5th century BC, long before the Roman army, which had a mercenary army of Romans and foreign men, siege engines such as siege rams, catapults, and siege towers. The Greek Syracusans in the Peloponnese War, in the Sicilian campaign 415 to 413 BC, had Italian mercenaries from whom they learned the art of war. The Greeks also had trumpeters for military orders and battles, as well as pipers who coordinated the soldiers' march. And returning to the Spartan army, it should be noted that it was the first to apply military formations in battle, and even changing them during the battle. This was long before the appearance of the Macedonian phalanx, created around 338 BC by the Macedonian king Philip II, the father of Alexander the Great. The Lacedaemonians, the Spartans that is, the warriors, the hoplites, wore a dark red epaulette or breastplate, the most heavily armed, a spear, a shield, on which was inscribed the characteristic capital L for the Greek L for lambda for Lacedaemonians, and a small dagger, a killing knife. The xieli, the soldiers synchronized their steps with the music of the flutes during the battle. The formations were changed in such a way that the best warriors were in the front line. If the enemy broke the formation, then the fallen soldiers were replaced by other warriors who were scattered around the battlefield. The Spartan army also used other military tricks, the so-called klemata, such as klemata was, for example, the pretense that the Spartan army was in a state of inactivity in order to mislead the enemy. However, both the Spartan and the Macedonian armies were models of organization and tactics. And likewise, other armies, such as the Athenians and the people of Boeotia, central Greece. Already in late antiquity, Greek and Roman writers, up to modern academics, examined the subject from a relative distance, either as it following the tactical movements of the opposing armies on a map, or at a geostrategic and political level in relation to the conditions of the period under consideration. However, almost everyone neglected to deal with and examine the very cell that gave rise to the need to use these tactical and strategical applications, the element that had such a catalytic effect on the formation of the battlefield and social events, which is none other than the invention and introduction of the military phalanx. That's when they turned their shields into like a shell. How and by whom was it constructed? How is it commanded? How does it move? What is it that defeats the enemy? And how does someone who belongs to it feel? Perhaps its contemporaries, due to their relevance and proximity, considered something self-evident and trivial to mention, with the result that they escaped them. While modern scholars, due to time, distance, and incomplete bibliography, either did not concern themselves with it or did not dare to touch it, a surprising exception is the highly regarded study by Victor Davis Hansen entitled The Western Way of War, which deals with exactly this subject. In the present article, therefore, we'll deal specifically with the invention and use of the ancient Greek orders and precision exercises of the military phalanx, and not with the rest of the above questions at all, since they will be subject for separate articles. From books to practice. Naturally then, the success of the phalanx on the field of battle was a direct function of the precision and synchronization of its movements, and clearly of the degree of discipline of those who made it up. The need to establish a method to make it possible to transform a large number of people from a simple gathering of an unruly crowd into a synchronized, compact, and decisive war machine with excellent arrangement in lines and ranks. Of course, each warrior, hoplite, individually did not cease to be a separate personality with individual character, needs, and desires. However, the operation of the phalanx required the self-willed and voluntary submission of personal needs and conscious discipline of the movements and decisions of each warrior individually. Thus was born the refinement of the Greek social conscience, which is the subordination of personal interest to the collective. And thus were built well-governed states consisting of conscientious, productive, and active citizens, which to this day we admire and envy as if they were an unattainable dream. Therefore, under a specific military command, one person decided what the next movement of the phalanx would be, but the common conscious co-decision of all the warriors was the simultaneous and precise execution of the specific movement at a specific time. And this, of course, gave rise to the immediate next practical need, the establishment of a clear and concise way of transmitting the orders of the leader down to the last warrior in a way that was fully understood by everyone and with common terminology. Thus, the invention of orders arose, which are nothing more than a codification of a series of actions and movements at a specific time, after the leader uttered a short and sharp phrase or word, with the aim, of course, to make those movements effective and synchronized on the battlefield. The precision exercises were established from a peace period for the training and preparation of the warriors. The more precise the warriors were in their execution, the more effective way they were on the battlefield, as is amply demonstrated by the example of the Spartans, who are not only the originators of the idea of the phalanx, but had reduced military training to a true art, making them indisputably standards of military virtue throughout the centuries. From antiquity to our days in the modern army, we say that the indicator of discipline of a section is a degree of precision during the execution of precision exercises. In fact, ancient historians have narrated to us the surprise in the eyes of the Persians upon seeing from afar the advance of the Macedonian phalanx of Alexander the Great, which they perfectly likened, saying that the warriors were so perfectly balanced in a line during their movement that from a distance they did not look like a crowd of people, but like nails driven into perfect geometric positions on a rolling board. And this image alone made them overcome with terror. Isn't that something? And of course, Alexander the Great put an end to the Persian Empire. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.